Hello, my beautiful online Big Brother babes. Welcome back to my channel. So sorry I did not put up a week 2 recap last week just because I was not in the mental headspace to do anything or film anything. But this week I decided, you know what, let's just do it. So I'm gonna bulk together last week's eviction as well as this week's eviction and we'll get into it. Let me just have a little sippy. Little rum and coke. All right, so briefly let's talk about week 2. I have my notes here. So Austin won HOH, just to kind of quickly run through it. Josh was nominated with Kiefer, who by the way won the veto in week 2, and Rohan was put up as a pawn. I mean, Austin was just trying to get the least amount of blood on her hands, which is super understandable. But first of all, kudos to Austin and LaToya for being the last two in that very physical comp. Like, I love Austin. I'm a huge fan of her. LaToya as well. That being said, I much prefer Austin. I like her in a sense that she's more likable. She's more of a girly girl. She's up my alley. LaToya's a bad bitch. Like, don't get me wrong. But I did say in my assessment that she could come off too hard too soon early in the season, and I think she's coming across that way. So with the two main alliances, week 2 we have the Sunsetters, and then we have Kyle and Rohan, and then Austin and Brayden. So kind of 3 separate groups. Sunsetters, we had Beth, LaToya, Jed, Ty, Tina, and Kiefer, and then Tara was kind of like on the outs, and then Kyle and Rohan were together. But this is where I think the Sunsetters overplayed. They became too complacent with their dominant alliance. They knew they were the dominant alliance in week 2, and they started doing all this flip-floppy like gameplay, which I think ruined them and ruined their cover. First of all, if LaToya didn't keep trying to switch last minute, I think their cover would have still been up. Also, with LaToya trying to flip that week and Kiefer kind of lying to Victoria, that really segued into the effects of week 3 exponentially. Like, it was insane, the fallout of the Josh eviction to how it affected everyone's game in week 3. So week 2 we had Beth playing both Ty and Jed, which is like, go girl, but also like kind of messy. Like, girl, pick your showmans, pick your alliance, because now it's just kind of, I don't know. As for Tina, Tina is like playing really well. She's low key, but she's super strategic. She's trying not to get the radar put on her. But I think week 2, going into week 3 was when Tina and Tara start linking up. And I'm quite surprised that Tara started really playing hard. I think Tara realized that she wasn't in a majority alliance and she wasn't also with like outcasts. So this is where I feel Tara really stepped up her game and linked up with Tina, which is, I really like that duo, the TNTs. So anyways, Josh leaves that week. RIP Josh. I ended up kind of liking Josh this week. I like that he tried to cause chaos, but it was just too late. Truthfully, now looking back, I feel like the Sunsetters should have voted Rohan out because, again, what happened in week 3 was because they kept Rohan. Okay, anyways, fast forward to week 3. Let's talk about this week, the nitty gritty. So week 3, we have the most unexpected result for HOH. Freaking Victoria wins, and I don't think the Sunsetters were ready for that. I don't think the Sunsetters were ready for a Victoria HOH week 3, which really threw them off. And with how week 2 ended, with Kiefer getting exposed and like the flip getting exposed, Victoria set her sights on LaToya, who from the get-go she already knew was kind of her target. 1, for getting Julie out. 2, for not pulling her into an alliance. If someone offers you an alliance, you just say yes and just pretend that you're part of them. But with LaToya being such a straight shooter, she couldn't fake it or couldn't lie, and that became a detriment because that put a target on her back for Victoria. So anyways, Victoria puts up Kiefer and LaToya, and Victoria tells Kiefer, you're not the target, you're safe. play it down, like be mopey, make everyone believe you're going home, which first of all, Kiefer honestly turned this week around. He followed orders, he put trust, and he just believed in, you know, what people were telling him, and he followed through, and honestly that kept him safe. If Kiefer would have freaked out this week for being on the block, I think the vote would have been like so flip-floppy, but I think because he listened to what Victoria's plan was, it truly worked for his benefit. Now LaToya girl, LaToya was on the block, and as you know, Jed did not use the veto. With Jed not using the veto because he was afraid of Ty going up. So Jed chose not to. At that point, one of your allies is going home. You should already know that there's a huge possibility that your biggest ally, who's LaToya, is the target, knowing how prominent she is in the house. But these guys were still like led to believe that Kiefer was the target. You were so dominant in the first 2 weeks to all of a sudden have this flaw and lack of judgment as who the house is targeting. You know you're a freaking threat, you're a trio, and you're just gonna assume week 3 that they're not gonna, you know, pull the trigger at your alliance. Boys, hello, stop thinking about Beth, stop freaking canoodling and play the game. So we have week 3, the crumbling of the dominant alliance, the old sunsetters, which were still Beth, Jed, Ty, and then we have Kiefer, and then Tina is slowly breaking off from the sunsetters. She's realizing she's at the bottom of the totem pole of the sunsetters, and she has a better chance linking with Tara, who might be her final 2, and switching over to the oddballs, because the oddballs is so the oddballs are a group of 3 pairs. So you have Kyle and Ro, you have Austin and Brayden, and now you have Tina and Tara to form the oddballs, plus Victoria. So Victoria's the odd girl out in the oddballs, but I think that's why it was smart for Tina and Tara to link up and move over, because in that group of pairs, at least they have someone. They're not on the bottom of like the entire totem pole. They each have a final 2. And then Victoria's like just a proxy because she's in power that week. So of course they're gonna pull her in and kind of shift and gravitate towards the power. So I really like how there was a huge divide this week. It was very reminiscent of Big Brother 6 with the Sovereign 6 versus the Friendship, which was like a cult. That being said, I can't really tell who I like between the 2. Obviously, I have my favorites, which are Brayden and Austin in the oddballs. Truth be told, you know what? No, I retract that. I do lean towards the oddballs. I really like Kyle and Ro. I think they're playing a slick game. Anyways, we'll get deeper into that. So we get the entire week pushed to the last minute. Like the veto was aired during the freaking eviction night, and we also got an HOH, which is like crazy that we got a veto ceremony, an eviction, and an HOH all in one episode for Thursday. That was wild. So as expected, LaToya got voted off, which is a bummer. That being said, you know, playing too hard too soon, that's kind of what happens to you. She did play amazing. That being said, she was so complacent this week. Like if she tried to flip this vote, it would have worked her favor. Instead, she kind of just like trusted people, and you can't trust people that blindly in this game. Like you should have known if you stayed on the block, you're in trouble, girl. Like she could have flipped it, but she just trusted the process, and that's what happened. So Victoria gets out LaToya. Now I feel like the old sunsetters are going to be trading shots with the oddballs, with of course Kyle and Ro being the head honchos that I think they're going to start targeting. And then with the oddballs, they'll still be targeting Ty and Jed. That being said, they don't know that Tina has already flipped or like created a side alliance with Tara, which is great for these 2 ladies. I love that Tina and Tara, the most mature out of the group, are linking together, banding together, and really creating this like fly under the radar alliance, the TNT alliance, which is like super cool to see. I really like Tina's gameplay. Again, the first half pre-jury, you kind of want to play under the radar, and I think Tina is in the best possible position. Tina and Tara are like really killing it, because right now the two groups are just going to keep trading shots. Ty, Beth, Jed, and Kiefer are going to keep going after Brayden, Austin, Kyla, and Ro. And then the other guys are just going to fade into the background. Plot twist though, that being said, Victoria played a little bit messy with her HOH. I like what she did. I like that she got her target out. She just went about it very messy with like the guys and like lying to them and lying about like the outcome instead of just being forthright and saying, LaToya's my target, I want to send her home. That would have maybe put less of a target on Victoria. So leading into week 4, this next week, we have Kiefer winning HOH. so week 4, Kiefer's HOH. I'm assuming he's going to target Kyle and Ro with a possible Victoria backdoor. Just because Victoria obviously put Kiefer on the block. And then, of course, Kyle and Ro is the heads of the other alliance. That's who Kiefer is going to target. If Kyle or Rohan wins veto and they take themselves down, I think Kiefer is definitely can either put Victoria up or use Austin and Brayden as a pawn, because at the end of the day, Kiefer was used as a pawn. And so instead of putting Victoria, who they already know is like someone not to be trusted, is messy, they might put Austin up because Austin is a comp beast. That being said, I feel like Austin and Kiefer had a little deal, because during the HOH, I think they were talking and Austin came second in that comp. I feel like Austin threw the comp so that Kiefer would win it, because Austin doesn't want blood on her hands. Austin and Brayden don't want targets on themselves by putting up Jed and Ty. They want other people to kind of go for them. But now I'm scared that Kiefer is going to put up Austin next to either Kyle or Ro if should one of them win veto. And then the vote can flip and Austin can go, because she's a comp beast just as much as Kiefer's a comp beast. So that is my kind of thoughts on week 3 leading into week 4. LaToya, you played a great game. I think she was badass. Just she fell to playing too hard too soon and being complacent, but I guess that's just how she is, straight shooter attitude, right? That being said, it sucks, but that's Big Brother. Also, guys, I think I'm really enjoying this season because I don't really have a clear kind of alliance that I'm with. I was into the whole Beth playing the two guys, but now I'm kind of over it. Now I'm really back to loving Austin and Brayden. I just like how chill they are. They're so unbothered. That being said, I hope they get a freaking light under their asses this week, because they're playing a little too passive. If Brayden and Austin were playing the way Tina and Tara were, they would be set up. But right now, their only lifeline is Kyle and Ro. And when Kyle and Ro go, the targets are going to move to Austin and Brayden, unless Tina and Tara get exposed, which I highly doubt will be the case. Victoria, I don't know how Victoria is going to navigate, sending out one of the biggest players thus far. But if she scoots by this week without being nominated, should Kyle and Ro win veto, good for her. But that makes me scared for Austin and Brayden. I do not want Austin and Brayden to be put up as a pawn, because pawns always have a possibility of going home, especially if Austin is a pawn. Austin is a huge threat to the game because she is a comp beast. She's likable, and yeah, I'm scared that if she sits on the block, she could be voted out very easily over Kyle and Ro, because Kyle and Ro are good to keep because they're going to keep going after Jed and Ty. So for people on the outside that aren't head honchos, I feel like they're just going to let the two battle it out. And then I'm thinking while the two big guns go after each other, the outsiders are gonna start targeting within themselves. I think that's how it's gonna play out. Unless we get a power, who knows, who knows. But yeah, that is my read on the upcoming week. I can't wait to see what happens. Definitely good. Definitely this season is already more fun than Big Brother All-Stars 2, just because the dominant alliance has already been broken down and there's so many side alliances working out, and that's how we want to watch the game. We want messy players, but also we want people gaming, and so far I think everyone is gaming. No one's coasting, no one's just like flirting, like maybe Beth, but Beth's a good player too. She's like in the guy's ears. So I'm excited to see where this week takes us. I'll probably do a recap like later in the week after the eviction and HOH. But yeah, those are my thoughts for this past 2 weeks on Big Brother Canada 9. I hope you guys enjoy these recaps that I do. Like, it's kind of fun for me talking about and nerding out over like reality shows, because I do love reality shows. I do not watch the feeds. I watch the TV show, but I subscribe to Rob Has Podcasts. I am a huge fan of Rahab, and like I always listen to their podcast. I just don't have the time or want to spend time watching feeds. So hearing them recap everything is such a help and gives me a different perspective on the game. But it's so exciting to see what the other players are doing that we don't see on the TV show. So, all right, guys, that is my recap for Big Brother Canada 9, week 2 and week 3. Also, please follow me on all my other social media accounts. That includes Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and OnlyFans. Yep, I do OnlyFans content. I will link all of those down below. And I'll see you guys in the next recap. Have a nice week and stay safe.